أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي نور قلوب العارفين بنور معرفته وأثبت فؤاد أنبيائه وأوليائه بقصص الأنبياء والمرسلين وأكمل إيمان المسلمين والمؤمنين بولاية علي أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أفضل الموجودات العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد أعني أبا القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وعلى روحه ونفسه وسهره ومسيحه سيد الأسقياء والأسقياء مولى الموالي إمام المتقين علي بن أبي طالب.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وعلى أوصيائه لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله الحكيم في كتابه الكريم وما كان المؤمنون لينفروا كافة فلولا نفر من كل فرقة ليتفقهوا في الدين وليرجعوا إلى قومهم لعلهم يحذرون. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
There are two words used in Arabic, ijtihad and taqleed. Tonight, inshallah, we will only talk about the concept of ijtihad. Ifti'al. And the verb will be ijtahada, ijtahadu, ijtihadan. An Arabic term which implies to strive. The root word is juhud. The word from which the word jihad has also been derived. You always hear about jihad. Is of two types, jihad li-asghar and jihad akbar. Again, to strive. Juhd itself, also another word, ijtihad, to strive. Originally in Islam, it had a meaning and the Sahaba used it amongst themselves to indicate upon personal understanding of something, a personal view, and usually indicating upon qiyas, analogy, from mantiq. Qiyas, according to the Shia fiqh, is haram, and we always had the Shia ulama, the Shia fuqaha condemn ijtihad because it was used in the same meaning as qiyas. So long as ijtihad means qiyas and istihsan, personal understanding, my personal view, then it is haram and forbidden. So be very careful in what term and in what meaning the word ijtihad has been used. That's where the whole understanding of ijtihad, and that's where accepting it or rejecting it is concerned. If ijtihad is personal understanding, qiyas, my view, not in understanding the laws of Sharia, not in understanding Quran and Hadith or Quran and Sunnah, but in confrontation of Quran and Sunnah, if you do ijtihad in confrontation of Quran and Sunnah, then it is haram. Everyone just be careful for a few minutes and then inshallah we'll build onto it. Now, the Sahaba used it against nas. Nas is Quran in Arabic and the hadith or the Sunnah of the infallibles. That's what's called nas, known and sad, nas. Ayatollah Sayyid Sharafuddin Musavi, a contemporary who died, the one who was born in Lebanon, and he has many books. Famously known for his debates with the Sunni brothers in Egypt and in other countries. And his very famous book is Al-Muraja'at. the letters between him and Sheikh Shaltut, where after all of those letters they declared the Shia fiqh to be the fifth school of thought in Islam. And he went to Egypt and he had many debates. And he has another book called An-Nassu wal-Ijtihad. And again he defines that ijtihad against the nas, to have your personal understanding against that. Quran says this, but I say this. The Holy Prophet says this, but I say this. The Holy Prophet allowed and made the two mutas permissible, but I forbid them. This is called a personal understanding. This ijtihad is haram according to the Shia. So everyone clear on this?
Yes.
One of the first few writers that we have is Shaykh Saduq, one of the earliest writers that we have. He has condemned ijtihad, and he says ijtihad is not amongst the following of the Ahlul Bayt. And when he defines it and he talks about it, it is the famous story of Hazrat Musa and Hazrat Khidr in Surah Kahf. Surah Taha, you all have probably come across, when the two are together and he, breaks the boat and he says, why did he do that? He kills a young man. He says, why did he kill him? So the famous story. He says, Hazrat Musa could not understand the doings of Hazrat Khidr because he was appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to act upon the apparent things. And Hazrat Khidr was appointed upon the hidden things. Okay, all the prophets have been ordered to look at apparent things and then pass the judgment. Only the 12th Imam will pass the judgments according to the hidden things. Okay? And all the others are, even though the Holy Prophet and the Imams knew this person has committed so and so sin, but they did not punish them and did not say anything. The apparent thing was that they haven't done it. They don't have the witnesses. There are so many things arising from it, so I have to clarify that. Okay? So Shaykh Saduq uses it and then says, and this is why ijtihad or qiyas is haram in the Shia or in Imamiyah. He doesn't want to use. In the early Shia scholars, they would always say Imamiyah and not Shia. Imamiyah are the ones who believe in the 12 Imams. So they would always use Imamiyah, or they would say the followers of Khulafa. Khulafa meaning all the people who claim to be the successors of the Holy Prophet in a particular way that the people elected them or selected them. Mufid, this is in the 4th century, Shaykh Mufid is in the 5th century, and he also condemns ijtihad. Then comes Sayyid Murtada. These are the greatest maraji that we have. He comes and he condemns ijtihad in his book called Al-Dhari'a and also in Al-Intisar, both of his books. He says ijtihad is not a following of the followers of Ahlul Bayt. Again, in what meaning? He defines it that it is qiyas. And they all call ijtihad qiyas. Or qiyas ijtihad. Same thing. Then comes Shaykh Tusi in his book Al-Udda. He again condemns this. He says qiyas, istihsan are ijtihad, and ijtihad is forbidden in the school of Ahlul Bayt. Then comes Marhum Ibn Idris in his book As-Sarai, he condemns it. So this is up to 6th century. Then comes one of the greatest scholars ever, who's still known to be, if you just say in Arabic, muhaqqiq, the researcher, and don't mention who you mean, everyone understands him in fiqh. And that's Muhaqqiq al-Hilli, the uncle of Allama Hilli, his mother's brother. He is the first person to give the definition of ijtihad that we have today in the 7th century. He died in 676 Hijrah. Everyone with me so far? I hope I'm not confusing. Okay, I'm trying to be as slow as possible. The ones who probably listened to me before, I speak very fast. So I'm trying to slow down as much as I can. But after probably 10, 15 minutes, I'll forget and I'll pick up my speed. So, and if you do not understand, just point. Can you slow down? A lot of people complain that you speak too fast. So inshallah, I'm going to try and slow down as much as I can. Muhaqqiq al-Hilli is the first person. He has a famous book called Islam. The first volume also has a translation in English, Shara'i al-Islam, and he has many, many books. In one of his books, he comes and gives a definition, ijtihad in the meaning of qiyas is haram. However, ijtihad is permissible in understanding Quran and Sunnah. And if people say that, you Shias have also become they are the ones who use the word Shia then, the Shias of Ali ibn Abi Talib. We do not follow the others, we follow Ali ibn Abi Talib after the Holy Prophet. So he is one of the first people to use the word Shia as well, openly, that we are Shia now. We don't accept the other announced by our Sunni brothers. He says, then people may say that you have also become the people of Ijtihad. Yes, we are the people of Ijtihad, but Ijtihad has many different methods. One of them is to use the Holy Quran and understand it. One of them is to derive the ruling from Sunnah. And one of them may be Qiyas, but Qiyas is haram in the Shia. So we are people of Ijtihad, but not with Qiyas and Istihsan. Okay? Which are permissible with Imam Abu Hanifa. He brought this revolution in fiqh, Muhaqqiq al-Hilli, and he's still known to be Muhaqqiq. In fiqh, they don't even mention Muhaqqiq al-Hilli. They will just say, Muhaqqiq says this, and it would mean Muhaqqiq al-Hilli. And if people say Allama said this, they would mean Allama Hilli, Yusuf ibn Mutahhar al-Hilli, the one who died in 726 Hijrah. These are the biggest fuqaha in the history of Shia who have brought a great revolution in the Shia fiqh. They have used the modern term. Now, I recited this ayah from Surah Tawbah, Surah number 9, verse number 122. The ones who say, where is Ijtihad and fiqh in Quran? In this verse. Our fuqaha say Ijtihad is Wajib Kifai. How many of you have heard Wajib Kifai before? Okay, some of you have. Okay. Wajib itself has many types. Okay, Wajibat may have different divisions. Have you heard that Namaz al-Jum'ah is Wajib Takhir? A Wajib which has choice. Okay. Wajib Ta'yini and Wajib Takhiri. This is one division of. I'll just quickly give you a few definitions. Wajib Takhiri, when you have a choice between two things. For example, our Imams have said, if you intentionally break the fast of the month of Ramadan, then you have to give a penalty. But then the Imams gave you a choice. You can either be a slave, or fast for 60 days continuously, or feed 60 people. So they have given you a choice. It is wajib, but you have a wajib takhiri wajib, but with a choice. This is called wajib takhiri. In the absence of the Imam alayhi salam, most of the fuqaha today believe that namaz al-Jum'ah is wajib takhiri. Wajib takhiri how? If you pray Jum'ah, then you don't have to pray Dhuhr. However, if you pray Dhuhr, then you don't have to pray Jum'ah. This is called wajib takhiri, when you have a choice. But when the Nabi or the Imam alayhi salam is present, then you don't have that choice. Okay? Then you only have to do Jummah. You cannot do Dhuhr. But in the kafara, you still have that choice. Did everyone understand that? So this is called wajib takhir and wajib ta'yini. Ta'yin when it is specified. In the Dhuhr time of every day, Dhuhr is ta'yin, it is fixed. But on the Friday, you have a choice. Jummah or Dhuhr. Then you have the wajib aini and wajib kifai. Wajib aini, which everyone has to do. You don't have a choice. The 5 daily prayers, you all have to do it. No one has a choice of leaving them. But then there is wajib, then there is namaz mayyit, the namaz janaza, or the prayer of the deceased. That is wajib kifai. If some mu'minin did it, then others don't have to do it. Did everyone understand that? That's called wajib kifai. Kifai meaning if a few people do it, then others. Ghusl kafan is wajib. The washing of the deceased and giving him shroud is wajib. However, if a few people do it, then everyone's obligation has been fulfilled. However, if no one does it, then we're all sinful. Did you all get that? So if no one does it, then everyone is sinful. But if a few people do it, then that wajib, that obligation has been replaced. That's called wajib kifai. Kifai, from kifayat. Wajib, which is sufficient. If a few people do it, sufficient. A person walks in and says, Assalamu alaikum. Salam is mustahab sunnah. But giving an answer is wajib. What kind of a wajib? Wajib kifai. So if some of you said wa alaikum salam, then the rest of us don't have to answer. But if no one said wa alaikum salam, then all of us will be sinful because it was wajib to answer him. Okay? He didn't do it. That was only to get your attention. It's okay. We were not talking about you. So everyone with me so far? This is what's called wajib kifaya. So if some people do it, then the others don't have to do it. Ijtihad is wajib kifaya. If some people go and do ijtihad and become mujtahideen, the rest of us, we don't have to do it. That's a good thing. So we don't have to go too deep into the studies. We can just do taqleed. We can just follow them. They have to do ijtihad and we can just follow them. That's what's called wajib kifaya. How do we derive that ruling? From this one verse. There may be other ahadith which I do not wish to go into now. Otherwise I'll be just talking about one issue. وَمَا كَانَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ لِيَنْفِرُوا كَافَةً. It is not upon all the believers to go for education together. If everyone went to learn Islam, then what will, everything will come to a standstill. If all, وَمَا كَانَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. It is not upon all the believers to go and لِيَنْفِرُوا كَافَةً, to go and study Islam. فَلَوْلَا نَفَرَ مِنْ كُلِّ فِرْقَةٍ مِنْهُمْ طَائِفَةٌ لِيَتَفَقَّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. تَفَقُّهْ from fiqh or to deep study. Fiqh, everyone has heard the word fiqh, jurisprudence, to have deep understanding. There are two words in Arabic. So then why doesn't a group of them, فَلَوْلَا نَفَرَ مِنْ كُلِّ فِرْقَةٍ, from every group, firqa is a group, a sect, from every group, then why does مِنْهُمْ طَائِفَةٌ, a small group of them goes out from every gathering, a small group goes out to study, لِيَتَفَقَّهُ فِي الدِّينِ, to understand, have a deep understanding of terms in Arabic, two words. We also use one of them but not both of them in Urdu. Fahm and fiqh. Everyone? Fahm and fiqh. Fiqh and fahm. Fahm is understanding. And fiqh is understanding as well. But fahm is general understanding. And fiqh is deep understanding. That is what's called fiqh. Okay? Arabic has many different derivations. Many different, from one word you can make many different words. To produce production, in English you do it, but you don't do it as much as they do it in Arabic. Okay? Fiqh and tafaqquh, they are all both from the same words. Fiqh. Tafaqquh is from fiqh. Then why doesn't goes and has deep understanding of religion? Well, yarji'u, and then they should return ila qawmihim, to their people. Why should they return? إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِمْ لِيُنْذِرُوا, to warn them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's teachings, that you are missing out your obligations, these are your obligations. These are the things which are forbidden. This is what's called ijtihad. Some people should go and learn it and come back and teach to their people. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَحْذَرُونَ, so they may practice the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why ijtihad is learning religion and deep understanding of religion is called wajib kifaya. Now, ijtihad itself has a process of becoming a mujtahid is a process, a long process. You have to learn Arabic language. There are 9 sciences, more than 9, but these are the must things that you have to learn before you become a mujtahid. I'll count them quickly for you. Okay? These are the things that you must learn before you can be called a mujtahid. And you don't have to follow anyone else. You have to follow your own understanding of religion. You have to learn Arabic language and grammar, syntax and Arabic rhetorics, the balaghat, ma'ani, bayan, badi. So all of these sciences to do with Arabic. And lughat, the dictionaries and everything. So you need to go into that deep. Otherwise you cannot become a mujtahid. Why not, anyone? Because Quran and Hadith both are in Arabic. I remember one of the great scholars, he said, I asked a person who was writing a commentary on the Holy Quran in Urdu. So I said, I didn't know that you knew Arabic. He said, I don't. He said, hang on a minute, how are you writing a commentary on the Holy Quran? He said, I just refer to the translation of the Holy Quran. And I write a commentary. He said, so you're not writing a commentary of the Holy Quran, you're not mufassir al-Quran. You are a commentator, or you're writing a commentary on the translation of the Holy Quran. You shouldn't say that I'm writing a commentary on the Quran. The Quran is in Arabic. Okay, everyone? The Quran and Hadith both are in Arabic. So these are the sciences that you need to do to be able to understand them. Quran and Hadith. Secondly, you need to go into logic, mantiq and Hadith. Secondly, you need to go into logic, mantiq. Okay? everyone has to, anyone who wants to become a mujtahid, they have to learn. In fact, now in the houses in the first and second year, and many times second and third year, they always teach you logic because you cannot understand high level books without having done logic. Okay? And it's quite advanced level, so you have to grasp it and become quite strong in it. Third, theology, mabda and ma'ad. You have to be strong in theology, proving the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the hereafter and the theology itself. Okay? You then have to also master tafsir. Why? Because you will be using ayat ahkam. How many ayat? 513 verses in the Holy Quran that talk about fiqh rulings. Everyone with me so far? How many have I lost? None, alhamdulillah. 513, 513. That's the number of verses in the Holy Quran that talk about fiqh issues. Wudu, namaz, roza, taharat, nikah, talaq, diyat, mirath, inheritance, all of these different chapters. Hajj. 513. 400 of those are غير الصريح. They are not obvious verses. And 113 are obvious. How? For example, the verse in the Holy Quran says, فَمَنْ حَجَّ الْبَيْتَ أَوْ اعْتَمَرَ فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِ أَنْ يَطَّوَفَ بَيْنَهُمَا. The one who goes for Hajj or Umrah, there is no problem for them to do sa'i between Safa and Marwa. How can you prove that sa'i is wajib in Hajj and Umrah from this one verse? You can't. You will need to use a hadith. Okay, everyone? So the fuqaha talk about, so they need to learn tafsir. Then they need to learn two sciences concerning hadith. What are they? Diraya and Rijal. Ilm Diraya or Ilm Hadith. Science of hadith. And then science of Rijal. Rijal, the narrators of hadith. So they need to do the biographies of every single narrator that they use in a hadith. Was this person trustworthy or not? You get contradiction in a hadith. Whose hadith you take? The one who was more trustworthy. Are they both trustworthy? Then whose hadith you take? The one who has a better memory. Because one of them surely is making a mistake. Okay, then many other things. So these are the two sciences in hadith. Rijal and Diraya. Then you need to master fiqh, jurisprudence itself, and usul al-fiqh. Principles of jurisprudence. These are all the different sciences you need to do. There are other minor sciences they have to go into, but without these, no one can ever become a mujtahid. These are all basic and fundamental things that a mujtahid has to do. Now, I have only done the initial parts of ijtihad, and now I should be going into it. I was given 45 minutes, so I would need another probably half an hour, but I'll try and stick to the time and finish within my time. Now, these are now on the legality of ijtihad. How is ijtihad permissible? In this verse you say, you have seen the words, لِيَتَفَقَّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. There should be deep understanding of some people so they can teach others and others can follow them. Now, even if they do not become mujtahideen, they must learn and come back and teach others. What is ijtihad? Today we use the word ijtihad in understanding Quran and Sunnah. In Shia fiqh, there are 4 sources of deriving the rulings. Manabe fiqhi as they call them. Where do you derive, where do you take out your fatwa from? You will take them out from Quran, Sunnah, Ijma, and Aql. Okay? Quran, the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 513 verses in it. Sunnah, basically the definition of Sunnah according to the Shias is وَقَوْلُ الْمَعْصُومُ وَفِعْلُهُ وَتَقْرِيرُهُ. It is the words of an infallible, their actions and their approvals. The third is Ijma. Not on usul al-deen, but in furu al-deen, in the rulings. And one of them is Ijma al-Manqul, they say, the 12th Imam has to be one of them. There should be a statement, even a weak statement from the Imam alayhi salam. And the fourth is Aql. I'll just quickly touch upon Aql. What are the rulings that the fuqaha derive from Aql? For example, Muqaddama wajib is wajib. This is one of the rulings from Aql, logic, basic intellect, wisdom. The preliminary of an obligation is also obligatory. Simple translation as that. Namaz is wajib. Everyone following me?
Yes.
Namaz is wajib. Wudu is also wajib. How do you derive that wudu is wajib? Wuzu in itself is mustahab. But if a person says, I want to do namaz, but I don't want to do wuzu, can you do namaz? You can't, it's a condition. So the fuqaha came up with a general ruling. The preliminary of an obligation is also obligatory. The preliminary, what is the preliminary of namaz? Wudu. So wudu is also wajib. A person says, I'm willing to go to Hajj, but I'm not willing to get a visa for Saudi Arabia. Then you're not willing to go to Hajj, then are you? Because without a visa today, you can't enter Saudi Arabia. Okay, everyone? So the preliminaries also become wajib. Many other things. I do not wish to go into it too much. Now, Quran and Hadith. Quran, could anyone just pick up a verse and derive a ruling from it? Could anyone just pick up a book of Hadith and say, okay, this is what the ruling I take out? If anyone could do it. I have spent most of my life since 93. I have been learning Arabic, I've been learning Islamic, all the different Islamic sciences, a dumb student in the Raza. And yet, still, after 16 years of studies and teaching 5-6 years, I'm still not a mujtahid. I'm not a mujtahid. I cannot derive the rulings myself. I still have to do taqleed. Why? Because the process of ijtihad is not simple and easy. You don't have to just learn those sciences, you have to master them to a level where you do not follow others. You become independent and deriving the rulings yourself from all of those sciences. I haven't even given you the gist of the sciences. I've only counted them for you. I haven't even gone inside of each one of those sciences. This is what's called ijtihad. Our A'imma al-Muslim are not mujtahideen. The Sunni brothers believe that their imams are mujtahid and their mujtahids are imams. Not even if the imams were 12, even if the imams were 12,000, there still would not be any dispute amongst the imams. Why not? Because they see the ruling directly from Lawh-e-Mahfuz. Okay? They see it from where it is. The mujtahideen do not see Lawh-e-Mahfuz. That's why they have differences of opinion. They try and understand what was the ruling in Lawh-e-Mahfuz that the imam delivered. Because the imam only sees it and delivers the message. Okay? So they try and derive. You will come across the imam and he says, Maulana, if I'm fasting, can I go for swimming? He says, you shouldn't go for swimming. Or you don't swim. For example, the imam says, don't go for swimming. Another person says, Maulana, I submerged my head in the water while I was fasting. The imam says, it's okay. Your fast is invalid. It isn't invalid. For example, it seems that there is contradiction in these two traditions. Then the fuqaha will say there is no contradiction because the imam is saying don't go for swimming. Meaning it is not haram. It's only an example. Okay? Meaning it's not haram. I'm trying to simplify ijtihad. It is not haram, but it is discouraged. It is makruh because the imam is trying to stop one of his followers. But for another person, why is it not haram? Because there is another hadith where the imam al-Islam says it's okay, your fast is not invalid. Okay? For example, come across a hadith, if you stay in a place for 10 days or more, then your prayer is not qasr. You have to do full prayers. Okay, 10 days or more. You cannot say shortened prayers. Dhuhr, Asr and Isha will not become 2 rakats. You have to do 4 rakats. However, the hadith says, if you go to Mecca or Medina or Masjid al-Haram, and Masjid al-Nabi and Masjid al-Kufa, for example, and Haram of Imam Hussain, these 4 places, then you have a choice. You have an ikhtiyar. Wali with the again, is it? Takhir, what? You can do your prayers shortened or full. The fuqaha have a difference of opinion here. Not that you have a choice, they all say the hadith says you have a choice in Makkah. Now the fuqaha, like Al-Khuy, Al-Khumaini, Al-Bagani, the old fuqaha, the old school of thought, they all say, what do they say? They say you have a choice in Makkah. Where? In Makkah? In the old Makkah. In the old Makkah. Why? Because Makkah. In the old Makkah. Why? Because Makkah was limited to, for example, 5 or 6 mile radius. So the fuqaha say, some of the fuqaha say, you are only restricted, you're allowed to pray full or qasr in the old Makkah, but not in the new Makkah. But the recent Maraji, the contemporary mujtahideen, like Abdullah Sisani and Abdul Khadna, They say, no, you have a choice in new Makkah and old Makkah. Why? Because they say, the Imam did not say new or old. He said, you have a choice in Makkah. No matter how far Makkah goes, you have a choice of doing full or qasr, or shortened prayers. So the difference of opinion is technical, because the people have not asked many questions. Why did you ijtihad? Because you have so many ahadith. Could you, and you cannot just look at a hadith and derive that ruling. There are so many preliminaries. Each word will have to be looked into. What were these words used? What meaning were they used in the time of the Imam? Because we are very far from the time of the Imam. Many words are used in a meaning, and then the meaning of those words change. Yes? They take up a new meaning. Even in English, I will not like to give any examples. There are many words that have a new meaning to it. Then 100 years back in Victorian literature, they say that the meaning of a word was different to what it is in the present English. Okay? This is called tatawwur, the evolution in language, the evolution in literature, that the meanings change. So the fuqaha will have to go back and refer to the dictionaries that are giving the meanings, not contemporary dictionaries, but dictionaries that give the meaning in the time of the Imam. This was the word used by the Imam, and that was the meaning given to it in the time of the Imam. And today it has a different meaning. So we cannot refer to the meaning that the Imams had in that time. So ijtihad in itself is a very complicated method, but on the permissibility, I would just like to quickly take a few minutes and then end, and then let you ask questions on it. And I think probably it will be better, because I do not know your concerns on the topic, and I would rather answer your questions and your concerns on the topic than give my detailed argument and lecture on it. If you refer to the book of Shaykh Baqir Sadr, there is the translation of Khalqatul Ula in English as well, so you can probably get that, and then read the history of Usul al-Fiqh. The Shia Fuqaha composed under the science which is called Usul al-Fiqh, the principles of jurisprudence. How to derive these rulings. If you did not have a verse or an ayat from the Holy Quran on a topic, then you will refer to a hadith. And if you did not find it in hadith, then how do you derive a ruling? There are so many things which did not exist in the times of the Imams alayhi salam, and they are present today. So what is the ruling on it? There will be one of the 5 rulings that apply to them. What are the 5 rulings? Everyone probably knows them. The 5 rulings according to the Shia fiqh. Everything that you come across will have one of these 5 rulings. They will either be wajib, obligatory or mandatory, yes, wajib, haram, forbidden, mustahab, recommended, makruh, discouraged, or mubah, permissible. One of these 5 rulings will surely apply. What is the ruling that applies to, for example, smoking today? It didn't exist in the time of the Imam. What is the ruling on the dresses that we are wearing today? They did not, for example, exist in the time of the Imam. Faqih has to give a ruling. If there is no verse on it, there is no hadith, how does it derive? The laws that he has made in principles of jurisprudence, based on Quran and hadith, based on Quran and Sunnah, he has made some rulings. And based on those rulings, he will give a ruling. Okay? There are 4 major usul fiqh rules. Everyone, if you want to quickly write them down, and I'll end it at this, I promise. Istishab. Istishab. Alif, Sin, Ta, Swad, Ha, Alif, Ba. I-S-T-I-S-H-A-A-B. Istishab. Okay, everyone? Istishab, you apply istishab, the fuqaha will apply istishab when on an issue they know the previous ruling, but they don't know if the ruling is changed or not. Everyone with me? You knew before that this member was tahir. It was clean before. Now you don't know if it is tahir or not. So if you know the previous ruling, you will apply the previous ruling because you don't know the present ruling. That's called istishab. Okay? There are hundreds of pages, complicated pages, not simple that anyone can just read and understand. Like a textbook. A few hundred textbook pages on it that you will need to read and understand the feature on the basis of istishab. Okay? Then there is asalat bara'at, 4 usuls. Asl, singular of usul. Usul principles, simple principles. Asalat Barat. The principle of Barat. Barat meaning that you have no obligation. Okay, no obligation. When you think that do I have an obligation about an issue or not, if there is no ayat or hadith or no explanation from the Masoom, then you don't have this obligation. Do I have another prayer, wajib, other than the 5 daily prayers that the Masoomin haven't told us? The fuqaha say you apply asalat bara'at, the principle of not having an obligation. Because the Masoomin would have indicated that there is a 6th prayer. If they haven't indicated, then there is no. I'm trying to simplify as much as I can. Asalat ihtiyat. If you have a confusion between an obligation, you've got 2 obligations, you don't know which one of them applies to you. Is it Zohar or is it Jummah that you have to do? If you can do ihtiyat, ihtiyat is a precaution. If you can do both, then you would. If you can't, then you have tahqeer, then you have a choice. Okay, everyone? You will only have a choice when you know if you cannot do precaution. Precaution, how will you take a precaution? I'll quickly sum up the precaution as well. Some say it is wajib, some say it is mustahab. Some mujtahideen say something is wajib and some say it is mustahab. If you were following precaution, then you would do it. Why? Because it may be wajib. Some say it is haram and some say it is makruh. What would you do? Not do it because it may be haram. Because there are some saying it is haram and some saying it is makruh. Some say, for example, qasr is wajib and some say full prayer is wajib. Some say short, some say full prayer. What would you do? Full prayer or shortened? Well, some are saying shortened is wajib. So if that was wajib, you've left a wajib. And the others are saying the full prayer is wajib. So if you were doing a precaution, then you would do both. Because if you were to do shortened, you can't leave it. You can't say, okay, I'll do full. I've done 2. If it was 2, this 2. And if it was 4, no. So you have to do 2 prayers. Did everyone get that? Okay, you'll have to do 2 prayers to make sure that you've done your obligation. Likewise, there are other complications which I do not wish to go into to confuse you more. Now the 4th asl will be asalat ishtighal or asalat ihtiyar. So ishtighal, when you have to do something. Was this obligation waived from me or not? Because you know that this was an obligation and you think, was I permitted to not do it or was I not? Then you'll have to do it. As simple as that. I do not wish to go into them. These are all long studies. I would rather take the questions because I don't know your concerns, to be honest. Okay?
Allah salawat, please.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
I hope I haven't confused you too much.
Sorry? Yeah. Just get
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah for the very inspiring speech. Just a question regarding prayers. Say you're travelling and you do not know the direction of prayers. What I've heard before is what you can do is, what you have to do is pray in all the 4 directions. Is that wajib, or can you sort of try to best find out which way is direct? Which way is direct the qibla?
Okay. If there is no way of finding out, there are a number of rules that the fuqaha have said how you can find out the direction of qibla. You would look at the Muslim cemetery, and all the deceased are buried facing towards qibla. traveling in Muslim countries, and there are many other routes. IJTIHAD also describes, for example, where you are. If you know your geography, then you would know, for example, in Iran and in Pakistan, they say Qibla is towards your south. Okay? In Iraq and Pakistan. So Khan Kaaba is towards the south. If you know the east and west, then you can work out if this is east and this is west, and south is in this direction, then you would know. And there are different. If you can't find out, if you give a possibility of Qibla being in two directions, either here in front of you or towards your left, then you would only pray in two directions. Only in those two directions. If you think it is in three directions, probably your right, probably your left, or probably the front, then you would only pray in those three. If you don't know at all, it's only and only then you pray in for all four directions. Okay? Why? Because we have a hadith from the Masumin alayhi salam that if a person prays facing a direction and then he finds out within the time, the namaz is not qada yet, that he has prayed 90 degrees away from Qibla, either to his left or to his right, left or right. I was about to do the opposite, left and right. Your left and right. Yes, 90 degrees away from Qibla. Okay? Then he has to repeat them. But if he was within 90 degrees, then he doesn't have to repeat the prayers. So if he goes within 90 degrees, he doesn't have to repeat. But if he had prayed 90 degrees away from Qibla or more, then he has to repeat those prayers if the time was still remaining. However, if the time is finished, it feels you prayed Dhuhr in away from Qibla 90 degrees or more, and it is time for Maghrib already. Then you don't have to repeat those prayers. However, if you prayed exactly 180 degrees opposite Qibla, you were praying this way and Qibla was exactly behind you, then no matter what has happened, even after the time you have to repeat it. So because of those rulings, that's how the fuqaha have derived that you have to pray, because you will not be praying 90 degrees away from Qibla. It will be within. If you've prayed in all four directions, then it was within 90 degrees of all directions. Did everyone get that?
Yeah.
That's why you have to pray in all four directions. Okay, this is ijtihad. That's what the fuqaha say. Any other question?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for the lecture. I have to be honest with you, I've got lost quite a few times. I have a question. You said during the 7th or the 6th century, I don't know the name now of it, but a researcher came up with the definition of the ijtihad. So what about the scholars before? What was their idea of ijtihad?
Their idea was that ijtihad is qiyas, analogy. And qiyas is haram, even in today's ijtihad. The definition, ijtihad now includes the right methods and wrong methods. Before the 7th century, they used the word qiyas and ijtihad as synonyms, as mutaradif, as two equal words. Ijtihad meant qiyas and qiyas meant ijtihad. Today they don't use them in the same meaning.
So what would they do before the 6th century, the scholars?
The ijtihad, they were still doing ijtihad, but they weren't using the word ijtihad. They would use another term for it. They would, for example, say istidlal or istinbat. They would use another term for it. They wouldn't use the term ijtihad. For example, today, the Taliban, and XYs, they're all using the word jihad for their terrorism. Yes? So today, the word jihad has become a swear word. I'm on jihad. As soon as you say jihad, you're taken as a terrorist. But the word jihad isn't bad. It's the people who are misusing it. So the word ijtihad was misused before them, but he says, okay, the word isn't bad, then why should we just say that ijtihad and qiyas mean the same? We should say ijtihad is broader and qiyas is one of the forms of ijtihad, which is forbidden in the Shia fiqh. Did you all get that now? Okay? So he said, qiyas is one of the methods of ijtihad, which is forbidden in the Shias. But there are other methods. Ijtihad is to strive to understand Quran and Sunnah better. Not to strive to go against Quran and Sunnah. Not a personal view. Okay?
So was this actual word used by the Imams?
The Imams haven't used those words. So that's why it was a term used by the fuqaha later on, and the Sahaba used it. When Abu Bakr was told that Khalid ibn Walid has killed one of the Sahaba of the Holy Prophet called Malik ibn Nuwaira, because he wasn't paying zakat to the first Khalifa, because they did not accept him as a Khalifa, he said, no, I'll not pay you zakat. So he sent Khalid ibn Walid with a few people to say, pay me zakat. He didn't agree, so they killed him the same night. And Khalid bin Walid saw his wife, Hazrat Malik ibn Nuwair's wife, and he married the same night. So when he came back, people said, he married at the same night, she didn't even complete her iddah. He said, Ijtihada fa he strived, and he made a mistake, so I have forgiven him. In that meaning, ijtihad is haram, meaning personal view, qiyas, my personal understanding. Quran says this, but I think it is still allowed. The hadith says, drinking is forbidden, but there may be halal wine or something. That sort of views, for example, the Holy Prophet allowed Musa, but I forbid it. Well, who the hell are you to forbid it? So this is where we have a problem with ijtihad. Personal understanding, qiyas is haram in Shia Islam. So one of the methods of ijtihad is qiyas, personal view. That is forbidden. But what about the other methods that the fuqaha or the imams have used? Let me just say a hadith on it. Alayna bil usul wa alaykum bil tafarruq. We will give you the principles, not the further rulings from it. The sixth Imam al-Islam said to his students, like Aban ibn Taghlib, like Zurara, like one of the highest level of the students of the Imams. So they did ijtihad. They listened to the ahadith and they would tell the people that this is what the ruling of the sixth Imam would be on this, based on what he has taught me. Okay? So they would do ijtihad, and that was called, to take out further rulings, furu'at, further branches of it. Okay?
Sorry, one more thing. So when Khalid did he use the Quran and manipulated it when he did what he did?
Use it. He didn't use any reasoning. He sinned. To him he sinned.
Last.
So he didn't actually...
Abu Bakr defended him. He said he's made a mistake. He's done ijtihad and he's made a mistake. And our brothers always try and defend. They put down the Holy Prophet and the Imams to the level of mujtahideen. They say the Holy Prophet did ijtihad and he said the Mutah is permissible, and Hazrat Umar did ijtihad and he forbade it. We say and I said it, that the Imams see Lawh Mahfuz. They see that the highest level up to what Allah has legislated. The Holy Prophet and the Imams see that and then they legislate. The Mujtahideen don't see that. They look at the words of the Imams and the Holy Prophet and they try and derive a ruling. So Abu Bakr defended, Hazrat Abu Bakr defended Khalid bin Walid by saying that he tried to do something right and he made a mistake in understanding Islam. And that's what they give for Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, all of those corruptions that he has performed against Islam and against Ahlul Bayt, against Quran and against the teachings of the Holy Prophet. They say that this was ijtihad, he's made mistakes, so he's forbidden, he's forgiven. According to the Shias, he's not.
I wanted to know from an individual's point of view, if they, what's the limits to taqleed? For example, everything that they encounter in their life, do they have to go back to their mujtahid to get a ruling, or can they make their opinion? I'll give you an example. In Surah, I think it's Ankabut, where Allah says that if your parents, Allah enjoys humility and kindness to your parents. But if they say to you something which you have no knowledge of, then you don't follow them. So that's saying it in a way that you use your own decision. You don't go to your mujtahid to tell him, what should I do in this situation?
No, that's not the implication of that verse. I'll define it. The Holy, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when saying be obedient to the Holy Prophet, He puts no conditions. He says, Atiullah wa atiur Rasulah wa ulil amri minkum. Absolute submission to the Holy Prophet. Absolute submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, absolute to the Holy Prophet, and absolute submission to ulil amr. So you cannot be ghair ma'soom, otherwise it wouldn't be absolute submission to them. Absolute obedience to them. That's where we differ from the Sunnis. They say no, ulil amr is any person who becomes a ruler. We say no, only and only ma'soomina ulil amr. Because it says absolute submission. Okay, absolute submission. No. They tell you to jump off the cliff. You say, hang on, okay, do I trust him here? Is he, is he in his senses, or is he just, what is he doing? You don't question them. Absolute submission. You just jump off. The Imam al-Islam, the Sixth Imam said to Hazrat Harun al-Makki said, jump in the tandoor, or the fire that was made for making bread. So you opened up and jumped, and close the lid. Total submission. The Quran is saying you don't have the total submission for your parents because they're not masoom. If their submission, submission to your parents contradicts with the submission to Allah, the Holy Prophet or the Imam, then fala tutihima. Then their, submission to them goes out of the question. Okay? So don't obey them. The Holy Prophet said pray, and your parents say don't pray. For example, you come, usually the parents, the mothers usually do it. You come and say, oh son, you look very tired, you don't have to do the fast tomorrow. The Almighty Allah who loves you more than your mother said, it is wajib, and the mother says, don't do the fast tomorrow. So you don't obey them in that and make them sinful as well. That's where you don't obey them. Okay? Not in personal understanding. I can give you many more examples, but I don't want to go too much into it.
Well, it should be mature youth.
Assalamu alaikum. My question is not related to the topic you have today, but I would still like to find, ask you if you could explain us if any student who is studying religion or Syria, wherever, has not studied, let's say, Kharij at all, is he going to be still qualified alim?
That's a good question. Okay. I'll give you a little bit background to the Raza and the different levels of study so you will understand the question. Usually in the traditional Razas, they will have 3 levels. Muqaddamat, the preliminaries, then they will have Sutuh, and then they will have Kharij. Each one of them takes a number of years, a set of years. It will take about 4 years to complete your, the basic studies. And at that point, you just basically qualify as an alim. 4 or 5 years of studies. Sometimes that same 4 or 5 year course in Pakistan and India, it may take 8 years. But usually, it is geared for 5 years, basically. But in many of the houses, they will say, okay, you'll not take any holidays, summer holidays, Muharram holidays, you'll only have Ashura off, for example, only Eids off, just one day off, not 10 days off, the whole month of Ramadan off, 2 months of summer. No, you'll not get the holidays. And if you concentrate on just your studies, then you will probably do 4 years or something like that. Okay, 3-4 years. So that's basic, that's called Muqaddamat, and you qualify as an alim after 5 years, that 5-year course. And after that, you have another 4 years, sometimes 5 years for Sutuh, where you do the Risal, Maqasid, all of those high level studies, where you specialize. And then you come to the level where you start attending Dars Kharij. Dars Kharij is basically called Dars Kharij when you're out of the books, like research study. You don't follow a textbook. The lecturer comes and gives a lecture, and he's going to give his own research, and you make notes and refer to the books that he's mentioned of Hadith and IJTIHAD. That's called Dars Kharij. That's when you are doing a PhD, for example, in the Western world. And you do your own research to become a mujtahid. You start following. You may become a mujtahid in just one issue. You have your own view in one issue. 2, 10, 20, depending on how many years you attend. It may be that you've attended for a number of years and you've become a mujtahid in a chapter. For example, in the chapter of Khums, in the chapter of fasting, in the chapter of Kitab al-Nikah. In just one chapter, after 2-3 years, you become a mujtahid in that chapter. Okay? So that's called Dars Kharij. You still qualify as an alim, but you're not on a high caliber. After many years of studying Dars Kharij, you come to a level where you can derive a ruling in all the different chapters. That's when you become a mujtahid mutlaq, an absolute mujtahid. And that's not easy. To become an absolute mujtahid is very difficult. And you have to do years of studying Dars Kharij to become that.
And my second question is, as you said, the some mujtahideen say go for shorter prayer, others say go for full prayers. Is that something we are talking about when somebody is traveling?
Yes. When you're traveling, you have a choice. In Makkah and Medina, even if you don't stay there for 10 days, you have a choice of doing full or shorter. But in other places, if you're not staying there for 10 days, you don't have a choice. You have to do shortened prayers. You have to do qasr if you're not staying there for 10 days. Okay? I'll give you one hadith, everyone. Imam Raza alayhi salam. He had 2 people come and visit him. Where? In Khurasan. When Mamun had moved him to Khurasan. Mamun al-Rashid, he's the person who poisoned him. The 2 people came to visit him, both are his Shias. Well, they both claim to be Shias. So they say, Maulana, we both came from the same town in south of Iran, and we are both staying for the number of days. What about our prayers? Are they shortened or are they full? One of them, he said, your prayers are shortened and yours are full. So the one who the Imam said, your prayers are full, he said, how come? We both came from the same place, we're staying for the number of days, we've both come together. Why his prayers are shortened and mine are full? He said, because he came to see me and you came to see Ma'mun. And you're only visiting me because I happen to be here. Because you came for something haram, to see an oppressor is a zalim, to see a zalim is haram. And if you're traveling for something haram, then you don't get the choice of shortened prayers, you have to do full. So your traveling was haram and his was permissible. He came to visit me, his is permissible and he has shortened prayers. He has qasr and you have to do full because your traveling was haram. Did you all understand that? Yeah. Inshallah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, last time I've got two questions for you. My first question is regarding taqleed. If I've done my taqleed, let's say, to IJTIHAD, and my family and the community around me, our Imam Varga, they've done the taqleed to IJTIHAD. Around, let's say, Ramadan, we've had this, as you've noticed, on a couple of occasions now, Eid, let's say, IJTIHAD does his Eid on the Tuesday, whereas Sistani then does it on the Wednesday. What do I do if my family have all done taqleed to Sistani? Do I also keep a fast that day? Do I do Eid? Or
you cannot follow your family on that.
Yep.
Sistani has been continuously been asked this issue, and they said, look, the families are being divided on this issue.
right.
And a father, for example, being a Muqallid of Al-Akhui, he still remains in the Taqlid of Al-Akhui and he's done it a day earlier. And the son cries at my father, and he said, okay, you're telling me that a child is crying, so to me, that's how I understand it. To me, all the fuqaha say this, it is haram to fast on Eid day. It is haram to fast on Eid day, and if it is the month of Ramadan, it is wajib to fast. So he's saying that you're telling me that because the son is crying, so I should say, okay, you can do a haram, you can leave your fast and celebrate Eid. He says, well, that's how I've understood it. It is wajib upon a mujtahid to declare what his view is, what he has understood the Sharia to be. We have very limited ahadith on this topic. Okay? So the fuqaha, the information they have differences of opinion on it. The ulama are trying to solve it. What they're trying to do is they're trying to say that if a person says, okay, I'll not give a view on it, I'll not give a fatwa on what day the Eid is, so if the ulama themselves decide, and okay, based on most of the mujtahideen, they've said it on this day and we'll announce it on this day. And that way that you will not, I think what happens is it's the middle order that destroys, that gives their personal views on when the Eid is and when the month of Ramadan is. That's where the differences come, and they try and not unite the people, and then it becomes what it becomes. If you do know that your mujtahid has given a fatwa on a particular day, you cannot follow your family on that.
So just do either London.
Well, this is a difficult thing. Now, what happens is the system of ijtihad is the best system in the absence of the imam. It doesn't replace the need of the imam, and that's why the fuqaha say even we pray for the coming of the 12th imam. You can, one of the conditions of ijtihad is that they should be adil, they should be just. Not because I'm the odd one out, I have a different fatwa than all the other people. So I should just change it and make it a fatwa with the others. Then he's not adil. He has to give the fatwa that he thinks is correct. He cannot say, oh, because others I'm the odd one out, so I should just change it because of the others. No, I have to give the fatwa that I think is correct. A mujtahid cannot do taqleed. It is haram upon him to follow another person. He has to give his fatwa based on his own understanding of the Sharia. Has to give his fatwa based on his own understanding of the Sharia. And this is what he says, that I have understood this masala to be. That's how it is. Others may follow, but at the moment they are not. They don't accept. So the old school. Okay.
Another question. Well, before I go to my second question, could you expand a bit on taqleed next week, like in your lecture, because not just me, but I think all the members of the community, especially the youngsters. I mean,
That is part 2.
yeah, we would need.
Yeah, because you see, they asked me to just say ijtihad today and taqleed next week.
Okay, can I ask you a
So I
question?
didn't talk about taqleed.
Can I ask you a question? This is a bit random, but it's regarding London. I mean, you know, like, is it good or is it bad to do London on Umar Bakr and Usman?
Okay, now everyone
So, yeah, number one. And number two, I mean,
is
like, you know,
everyone here? We don't know.
Someone shake your
There are
hands.
some in between.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay, look, our imams have many a time said it is not permissible. We have many hadith on it. Okay? And when asked, they said it is haram to hurt anyone. Third, many of our imams have openly said that even if you said wrong to the idol of another person, you know, the people, they say this is our God. The Quran says this. Don't say bad to the idols of other people because they'll say bad to your God. So that's why our imams have forbidden us to say anything like that in front of other people. But we need to know who was right and who was wrong. Who was alayhi salam and who wasn't. Who was a true follower. So we need to know that. And that's what the Shias differ on. Our Sunni brother says, no, leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we will not speak on it. We say, no, we need to know because we will be taking our teachings from them. So who do we take our teachings from? So that's why we discuss it. And our Sunni brother say we shouldn't discuss it, but we should leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to the Day of Judgment. But that's not the matter of the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran has announced many people to be good and to be bad. So it's a detailed topic.
so no none of them, but do we call them Hazrat though? Like,
Well, I haven't said
yeah.
no lanas on them or anything. I've said it is forbidden in front of the Sunni brothers. It is forbidden in front of the Sunni brothers.
So Beshma none of them, yeah?
No, but it is not permissible in front of the Sunnis, okay? So that's what all of our fuqaha say. It is haram in front of the Sunnis. It is haram. Not only that it is not permissible, it is haram. All of our fuqaha say. But not that you shouldn't have. Even if a person has a soft corner for anyone who was bad, shafaat will be difficult. Okay? This is what the fuqaha say. The shafaat and then the intercession of the Holy Prophet and the alim will be difficult for a person who has a soft corner for the enemies of our faith. Okay, everyone?
Thank you very much. Who's next?
Yes, At the back.
From the battery side.
Have you got it on?
Speak up.
Okay, many a times, like if you go traveling and it's ordained upon you to do the shortened version of prayer, but sometimes you feel maybe that you want to do the full. So what is the specific reason that is required for you to do shortened? I mean, is it because it's just for ease, or is there another reason for that?
It has been, for the purpose of ease, but you cannot, because I feel like doing something, you cannot do that. Again, that will be the ijtihad and the meaning of the Imam Abu Hanifa qiyas. Analogy is not permissible. You cannot say that I feel this way. No, the Shariat says so. You have to do something. The shortened prayers have to be done the way they have to be done because the Shariat says so. You cannot do otherwise.
Okay.
Okay? Any other questions on ijtihad or taqleed? Yes.
I think Maulana Sahib is quite right when they say qiyas is haram. Because even in our journal life, when we are not sure something, we are not sure about it, we start qiyas arai, it could be
Analogy, yes. We do it all the time. We do it all the time. But it is forbidden in the cases of theology, and it is forbidden in the cases of jurisprudence. Everyone, shall I give you a few examples of qiyas in your daily life?
Bismillah.
What is analogy? What is qiyas? You see two things which are similar to each other, you know the ruling of one and you don't know the ruling of the other. What you do is, because they look similar, you apply the ruling of one onto the other. Do you understand that? Okay, I'll explain it. Iblis said, I'll not do sajda to Adam because you've made me from fire and you've made him from dust. Fire is better than dust. Why? The sixth Imam has a detailed hadith on it in Usul Kafi. He says, why is qiyas haram? He says, أَوَّلُ مَنْ قَاسْ وَإِبْلِيسِ لَعَنَهُ اللَّهِ. The first person who did qiyas, who did use analogy, was Iblis, and Allah cursed him. Allah cursed him. He said, because he thought, you know, in English we have a proverb, it was taken from that whole ideology of the Imam alayhi salam. The Imam said, not every shiny thing is gold. You know, you have this proverb in English. Not every shiny thing is gold. He said, what he saw, he only saw the shine in the fire. He said, look, I glitter. He doesn't have it. So I'm better than him. So the Imam alayhi salam says, had he thought a little bit about it, he would have come to the conclusion that no, dust is better than fire. How? He says, because fire within itself has pride. You lit the fire, yes, you know, when you light it, it goes upwards. And when you throw the dust, it goes down. He says it has modesty in it. He says, fire, you place seeds in it, the fire burns them. You place it in earth, it keeps it. And if you put some water, it returns you the same seed with 700 times as much. Same seed becomes a tree, gives you a lot more fruits and everything. So, and he gave many examples. He says, no, dust is better than fire for these reasons. How do we do qiyas? For example, forgive me for the example. You see, you know, usually the Pakistanis talk about these things like this, so I'll give you the general example that we always do. A black person robs you or something like that. The next black person comes and says, he's going to rob you, quickly lock your car. This is qiyas. Did you all get that?
Yeah.
Why did you derive the ruling that the second black person is going to rob you? On the basis of color.
Yeah.
That's what's haram in Islam. You only pass that ruling based on similarity in race. Oh, there was a previous black person who robbed me, so he must do the same thing. Because of, this is what's called qiyas. You know the ruling. One was a robber, the other one may not be, but you have just passed the ruling because of the color. We do it all the time. You understand the point?
Yes.
This was called qiyas. I gave you an example so you understand it. That was called analogy. Then when a multi sits down, he sees two things similar. Imam Abu Hanifa sat down and he said, okay, I don't have a ruling on it, I don't have an ayat, I don't have a hadith. They look similar, what do I do? What do I say? He said, okay, this is forbidden as well. Oh, this is permissible as well. You know, that's what he kept doing. And he gave hundreds of rulings based on qiyas. Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam came to Kufa. Well, he came to Iraq to visit Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Well, I'll just quickly, briefly give you a little bit about his ziyarat. He went to do the ziyarat in Karbala, and he also visited Kufa. Where the famous Masjid of Kufa is there, many other things. And he also went to Najaf. Where did he stay? He stayed with Safwan Jamal. You know Ziyarat-e-Waritha? You read every Shiv Jummah? The Ravi, the narrator of Ziyarat-e-Waritha is Hazrat Safwan Jamal. He narrated it from the 6th Imam when the Imam stayed with him. Also Ziyarat-e-Ashura is from Safwan. Ziyarat-e-Ashura and also Dua al-Qama, all of these are. He says the 6th Imam went to Wadi Salam and he visited a grave, and when he finished the ziyarat, he walked backwards for a long time. He didn't turn his back. So I asked him, he said, Maula, what's here? I don't know, because the grave of Imam Ali was hidden from everyone. He said, Maula, what was here? You have not done that with anyone. You have so much respect, you didn't turn your back towards it for a long time. He said, Safwan, don't tell everyone, but just very close Shias. Here is the grave of our grandfather, Ali ibn Talib. And then Safwan said, can I just, put some stones to remember? Because you see, Imam had made a will, hide my grave because Muawiyah will try and dig my grave and take me out. Muawiyah hated Ali ibn Talib. And that's why we hate him so much. So basically, when the Imam came to Kufa, he said, I want to see Abu Hanifa. Who was Abu Hanifa, everyone? One of the students of his name is Nu'man ibn my answer, give an answer to my question. He said, how do you use this verse? The Quran says, the verse that talks about that we have protected this land or this place. What are villages? قُرَى الَّتِي بَارَكْنَا حَوْلَهُ. We have villages which we have protected. And people feel ameneen, feel peaceful in these places. He said, what is that place? He said, it is house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Makkah. He said, well, do you know that Sayyid ibn Jubair and Abdullah ibn Zubair, they took refuge in Khana Kaaba and Yazid's army dragged them out and killed them? He said, yes. He said, then, well, it is not the peaceful place. People were killed even in Makkah. He said, well, it is the land between Makkah and Medina. He changed his answer very quickly. So the Imam said, any one of you went for Hajj this year? They said, yes, I went for Hajj, I went, many people. He said, when did you go from Makkah to Medina to visit the Holy Prophet as well? They said, yes. Ibn Rasulullah, O son of the Holy Prophet, we all went for the Ziyarat of the Holy Prophet as well. Did you feel safe between Makkah and Medina, or did you ever feel that we'll be robbed? He said, we were always frightened during the nights that we'll be robbed. He said, well, the people are saying that they don't feel peaceful. And the Quran says, Ameneen, they feel peaceful. What is the verse? He said, well, I don't know this one, ask me another verse. The Imam was later asked, Maulana, which is this place? He says, this Qura. This place, it is not a physical place, it is the Aimma alayhimus salam, the Imams. He said, Maulana, give me an example from the Quran that Allah has said a village. And He has used the word Qura, village in the meaning of people. Not the place, but the people. He said, the Quran says, وَأَهْلَكْنَا الْقُرَى الَّذِي أَهْلُهَا ظَالِمِينَ. We destroyed the villages that its people were oppressors. He said Allah destroyed the people, not the villages. He destroyed all the people. He said, so He's used the word Qura in another place in the meaning of place. And then He gave a few other examples from the Quran. He said Allah has used it. So it is us, the Ahlul Bayt. So Imam asked him many questions. He said, okay, I guess I don't know Quran. Ask me a question from Hadith. So the Imam said, okay, which is afdal, which is better according to your qiyas? Namaz, prayer or fasting? He said, the Holy Prophet said the prayer is better, so the prayer is better. He said, but you do qiyas. You do analogy, because he's saying similar. He doesn't have a strong basis. He said, according to your qiyas, you think namaz is better? He says, yes. He said, then why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say when the women miss out the prayers, it is not wajib for them to do qadha of it. But if they miss out fasting, it is wajib for them to do qadha. He said, ask me another question. So the Imam said, which is more worse crime? Killing or adultery? Murder or adultery? He said, murder. He said, well then why did Allah say 2 witnesses for murder and 4 for adultery? He said, ask me another question. So Imam said, which is more najis? Urination or semen? He said, urination. So the Imam said, then why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after urination said only washing, and after semen he said ghusl? He said, ask me another question. So he kept going on and Imam kept asking him questions. He said, okay, I don't know. Imam said, you are lying to me. Stop giving fatwas because you will destroy all the ones who follow you and you will destroy yourself. Halakta wa ahlakt. You will destroy yourself and everyone who follows you. You don't know what you're talking about. He said, I promise you, I will not give fatwas after today. Imam said, you are lying. The love of this dunya has taken you over. As soon as you leave my presence, you will say, that's how Jafar ibn Muhammad talks, and then continue giving fatwas. And that's what he did. So the Imam of Islam, that's why we say qiyas is haram. But he did not condemn any of his students who were teaching in Kufa, Hazrat Muhammad Muslim. Yes. Last question?
Yes, a lot.
Okay.
Just on that point, is it correct that he also studied under Imam Bakr?
No. They say, no. He wasn't even born at the time of Imam Bakr. He was born in the time of Imam Sadiq al-Islam. Our Sunni brothers claim that his mother married Imam Sadiq al-Islam after the death of his father. They try and say that he was a true follower of Ahlul Bayt, and he was a lover of Ahlul Bayt. Imam married his mother to say that he's my son, and no. And recently on one of the, like there are so many channels now on Islam, and one of the Sunni Alim said, no, Imam Hanifa was like a son to Imam Sadiq al-Islam, and the Shias don't accept him. He was trying to endorse it. What about all of these things? He said, yes, but it's a way of correcting a son. When your son goes wrong, the father corrects him, so Imam corrected him. I said, look, these are strong wordings. The Imam said, you will destroy yourself and anyone who follows you. He said it's a way of Imam, telling his son, don't do it, He said, well, he continued doing it, didn't he? So they defend him and they say, no, the Imam didn't mean it like that. The you Shias are very prejudiced against Imam Abu Hanifa. And the Imam is only correcting him. They try and, they have it in their hadith books. They say the Imam corrected him. Look at the words. Imam said, stop your fatwas because you will destroy yourself and anyone who follows you. Why doesn't he say that to other followers in Kufa? So they say, no, you shouldn't say, they are holy people, they are respected, you should ignore these things about it. And our sense is we cannot ignore the statements of the Imams. The statements of the Imams are final words for us.
Just one other quick one. You mentioned a book by Shaykh al-Sadr. Do you know the translation of that in English?
The Principles of Jurisprudence.
And one final question, just a really quick one. Does Istikhara fall under the umbrella of Ijtihad or not?
In what sense?
In the sense that, is that not also an interpretation?
No, not necessarily, no.
It's not.
That is an understanding of the ayat of the Holy Quran. That is more understanding of, if a person is doing Istikhara from the Holy Quran, then he would need to have an understanding on the tafsir of the Holy Quran. And Quran has 513 verses to do with fiqh. The others are about aqaid, about akhlaqiyat, ethics, theology, so very few verses on the So Istikhara would mainly fall under having strong understanding of tafsir.
Well, we'll bring it to an end there. Thank you very much for this evening.
I hope and pray that you all have a better understanding of Istikhara. One brother said to me that he got lost a few times. I hope it didn't happen. He left.
He's an A-star student.
He's an A-star student. But you see, being an A-star student in maths and physics, chemistry, biology doesn't mean that you're also an A-star student in Quran, Hadith, fiqh, and all the other sciences. Different people have different. A medical doctor, if you told him to study philosophy, I have my brother-in-law and all of his, he's a surgeon, he's a consultant now. So all of his friends came and they were visiting me when I was in the hospital, quite seriously sick. So I had my books on logic. Said, what does that involve? So I showed them, and they were books taught in bachelor's level, university level. So they said, does that involve maths? They were all qualified doctors, intelligent, and none of them, they said, it doesn't sink in, to be honest. Even though they were qualified, it doesn't mean that they don't have brains. Everyone has, if your brain works in this thing, it doesn't necessarily mean everyone. Faqih and mujtahid, if you sit down with an 18, 90-year-old mujtahid, and their sharpness and understanding on Quran, Hadith, Ijtihad, all of those different sciences. The brother that came with me, I was discussing with him, Ayatollah Zanjani, one of the living contemporary mujtahideen, an expert on ilm, Ayatollah Sayyid Musa Shubairi Zanjani. He leads the prayers in the Haram of Hazrat Masuma Qom. He is the biggest living expert on ilm rijal. They say that probably he's a bigger expert than Ayatollah Khoyi on ilm rijal alone, not on all the sciences, but ilm rijal. He has all the 24,000 rawat memorized. One science that he's an expert in. He's a master in 20 sciences, 23 sciences. And in one science, he has memorized the encyclopedia, the 25-volume encyclopedia. It's not easy, You may think, he's an 80-year-old man, he can do it. No, it's not easy. I promise you any money. Even now they've fed them, like in home, they're putting everything in CDs. Making it for people making it easy for people like me, who can't have a 400,000 book library, So they put all the books of Ilm Rijal, the 1,000 volumes of tafsir in one CD. Even in Ilm Rijal CD, you type in the word, the name, this is the Ravi. Is this Sikha or not? You press enter, it goes, it's going through 24,000, after a while it says, yes, trustworthy or not trustworthy. And him, you say, was Sayyid ibn Musayyib Sikha? It's going through 24,000, after a while it says, yes, trustworthy or not trustworthy. And him, you say, was Sayyid ibn Musayyib Sikha? He said, no. That's how much he thought, exactly how, I asked him many times, I said, is so-and-so Ravi Sikha? No, he's not. You know, that's how, this is how much it takes. That's how long it takes. And you can tell, and you know, this is all due to the sincere intentions, ikhlas. One of the conditions for mujtahid is that he should have a stronger memory than normal people. One of the conditions of ijtihad, he cannot be a common memory, otherwise he'll not be able to memorize all the ahadith. I asked a mujtahid, and one of the conditions is namaz al-shab. And I've come across all the mujtahidin, they all do ziyarat ashura every day. Some do ziyarat jami kabira. That's how close to the imams they have to be. You know, the connection with the imam. It is only and only, you know, you only get these things because of special endorsement from the 12th Imam. And that's why we call them Naib Imam. You know, you can't master these things. You sit down with them and then you realize. I took my father to visit some of the mujtahideen and I was speaking to him. And after a few minutes I realized that my father is not listening to me. So I said, Dad, I've been talking to you for, you know, where are you? He said, I was just looking at that. I said, I'm speaking to you. He said, I was lost. If, you know, if a Naib Imam is like this, he has so much noor on his face, so much light, then how must the Imam be like? I asked one of the fuqaha, what do you think of the Naib Imam? Like, for example, you know, someone like Imam Khomeini. He said, Imam Khomeini, we still don't understand his fiqh. We still don't understand his theology. We still don't understand his principles of jurisprudence. We don't understand his philosophy. We don't understand his irfan. We don't understand his tafsir. We don't understand his hadith. We don't understand his history. We don't understand any of his sciences. And yet, he is the dirt of the feet of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Can you imagine what Ali ibn Abi Talib is? People think, how can you not understand Ali ibn Abi Talib? You can't understand these Naib Imam. How can you understand the Imam alayhi salam? There is thousands of level of difference. When a person asks Ayatollah al-Bagani, what is the difference between you and the Imam? He said, you can't even compare. It's like an ocean with a drop. We are not even a drop compared to the ocean, to the Imam alayhi salam. That's how modest and humble they are. You know, the Imam is Imam Ma'soom. He has a knowledge of ma kana wa ma yakun, the knowledge of everything that in the future. This is what our mujtahideen are, and there are, sorry to say, within our Shia generation, people who think that they are the enemies of Ahlul Bayt, and they are the ones who are going against the Imams. Can you imagine? Who spend a lifetime, half a century, studying the sciences, the ulum of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, and that's how they treat you.
Inshallah, so we will look forward to next week's lecture on the belief.
I promise you I'll make it simple and easy.
Now please ask you just to recite the dua for us, after which we're going to have a short video, I think if that's still okay. It's only about 5 or 6 minutes. And then after that we'll have ziyarat and then some refreshments, okay? Thank you.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم إلهي بأخص صفاتك وبعز جلالك وبأعظم أسمائك وبإسمة أنبيائك وبنور أوليائك وبدم شهدائك وبمداد علمائك وبدعاء صلحائك وبمناجاة فقرائك نسألك زيادة في العلم وصحة في الجسم وطولا في العمر في طاعتك وسعة في الرزق وتوبة قبل الموت وراحة عند الموت ومغفرة بعد الموت ونورا في القبر ونجاة من النار ودخولا في الجنة وعافية من كل بلاء الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة بحق محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. صلاة.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
The other side.